On Christmas Day of 2023, it was announced that a film for the Bendy franchise based on the series' first game, Bendy and the Ink Machine, was now being put into production. This film was a collaboration between Bendy's home studio, Joey Drew Studios, as well as Radar Pictures, who are known for making films like the Jumanji movies, Bill and Ted, as well as all these films I'm not going to bother naming. Needless to say, I was pretty excited upon hearing of the news. Next to FNAF, Bendy was probably the Mascot Horror franchise I had the most respect for. While the first game left me with less than stellar results, a solid 5.5 out of 10, a whole 4 years later, Bendy was back with Bendy and the Dark Revival, and this game absolutely blew me away. The entry had tons of love and care put into it, an evolved art style, more engaging gameplay, new characters, returning favorites, and oh my god, it's too beautiful for the naked eye. An actually good story.
They made a game! It's not a steaming pile of fucking shit!
At least to me, Bendy and the Dark Revival proved to me that the people behind the franchise can actually make something pretty special. Dark Revival became my second favorite Mascot Horror game upon completion and is yet to be dethroned from that spot. I had fond memories of Bendy even if the original entry left a bad taste in my mouth by the end of it, and it was so relieving to see the series evolve beyond both its strengths and weaknesses present in Ink Machine, actually making me enjoy the plot twist ending of the original and presenting new and interesting ways that can affect the world within the game, while we patiently await numerous Bendy projects to be completed. What? Oh, the cage got cancelled. Why? They thought what they made was too good for a spin-off and moved it to Bendy 3. Huh. What an odd decision. And we haven't heard anything about Silent City either since it was relaunched. Okay, so maybe the games don't have the brightest outlook currently, but at least when Wolf was coming out, I suppose. I figure while we wait for Bendy's numerous game projects to release, we discuss the possibilities for a Bendy movie. And honestly, a Bendy movie sounds like a fantastic idea. After the major success of Five Nights at Freddy's, it's no secret indie horror devs are trying to get a slice of that yummy box office pie. And I'm certainly not opposed to the idea of more games getting feature-length films. It just really needs a good premise and something interesting to develop into. Bendy's unique art style already offers a varying amount of directions an adaptation could go towards. Do you try to replicate the style in live action, or go the animated route? Well, the Meatly made note that the Bendy movie would make use of practical effects, and you can't really do that in an animated movie, so it's pretty safe to say Bendy's gonna be done in live action. Not like Radar was really known for making animated movies to begin with. There's a lot of ways you could style a film like this, particularly Who Framed Roger Rabbit comes to mind, as that film had a groundbreaking blend of live-action footage and hand-drawn animation that ends up looking not only really freaking good, it looks super immersive. You can really picture these characters being present in the world due to the fluidity of the movements, interaction between characters and the environment, and especially the use of lighting.
Stupid!
While I don't think a Bendy movie would have nearly the budget to look this good, I hope they could manage to blend some hand-drawn elements when they adapt this weird bridge between reality and animation. I think the premise of a Bendy movie is a much easier sell than something like FNAF to core audiences as well. For the most part, FNAF was the first of its kind in haunting animatronic robots. Not to say it invented the idea, but it certainly popularized it. The idea of contorting cartoon characters has been around for decades, from recollections of creepy moments within older kids' cartoons to internet creepypastas. I think that was a huge part of the original game's appeal, considering it certainly wasn't the gameplay that drew people in. Okay, fine, I'll stop bullying you now, Bendy. Anyways, the premise of monstrous cartoons has been around for decades, and games trying to go all in on the concept like Bendy clearly interested people. I think to both fans and general audiences, with the right push, the Bendy movie could really introduce a lot of people to the franchise and its world. I honestly think that's one of my largest critiques for Five Nights at Freddy's. The movie didn't really bring in that many new fans. Sure, it was successful, but I think going too far in the for the fans direction can really alienate a lot of people.
We are only making this for fans of Five Nights at Freddy's.
Great confusion in the premise, and that's how you end up with a 32% critic score. He just didn't sell anyone new on the concept. I feel like that's really where the Bendy movie can shine in that regard. It can appeal to more than just Bendy fans, and considering the fact that Bendy's fan base is so much smaller than FNAF's, it might have to. So, what exactly is this video specifically about anyways? It's no secret that most video game franchises have a bit of trouble adapting their iconic characters to the big screen. Some go the live-action route with mixed results, or they can go the animated route, which still tends to lead to small design changes and inconsistencies which start endless Twitter threads about the tiniest little things, and I wish you people would just go outside already! Okay, they're gone. Now for all left in the room, here's a video doing exactly that. Meet the main series antagonist, the Ink Demon. The Ink Demon has had many iterations over the years, ranging from Venus flytrap face to the rawest fucking thing in fiction. Okay, I can't let my biases get in the way of this video. So, what exactly do we know about the Ink Demon?
But there is one rule. We all know and respect down here. Beware the Ink Demon.
In the first game, we first meet the Ink Demon at the end of Chapter 1. Oh, sorry, let me just upgrade the game a few versions. Okay, there we are. The Ink Demon in Bendy and the Ink Machine is a tall, bipedal figure, retaining the crescent head shape seen on Bendy's cartoon design, albeit a bit lopsided, with ink pouring down his face, covering his eyes. He is notably disproportionate, both in his visuals and his demeanor, having one cartoon gloved hand and one very human-like one. Though both of his feet are strange slabs of ink flesh, if that makes any sense. His torso is very spindly and contorted, and he's fixed with a tattered version of the Little Devil Darlin's iconic bow tie. When the Ink Demon chases you throughout the game, he has a noticeable limp, both in his walking animation and his running one, implying that this is an imperfect form for the entity. I mean, look at him, I'm pretty sure that would be obvious. We don't learn much of the character's origins within the game itself. However, what we do learn is that this is the first creation of the Ink Machine, attempting to bring the cartoon character Bendy to life within the real world.
Listen, Tommy, I know you boys over at Jet are doing your best, but I'm paying for living attractions, not weird abominations. Whatever that grinning thing was I saw wandering around your office, you better keep it locked up tight. I realize it was a first attempt, but imagine if the press caught sight of it. If you claim that your failures are because these things are soulless, then damn it, we'll give them a soul. After all, I own thousands of them.
It was mostly harmless at first, though it gave people like Joey Drew unease, and out of the fear of public seeing it, Joey demanded Thomas Connor, an engineer at the Gent Corporation, to get rid of it.
Although we're making progress, the client's expectations keep changing. What started as a machine to simply mold life-size figures now seems to be teetering on the edge of magic more than engineering. Although Mr. Drew remains convinced they're the same thing. The process of running the cartoons built through the machine for the figures to imprint upon themselves is going well. We've had several near successes. One weird note, the first figure ever created was a failed attempt in the likeness of the character called Bendy. Since that time, no other attempts of this particular figure have emerged. And the one that did, I don't know. There's just something unworldly about him.
It's assumed that this is how the character entered the cycle, and it grew resentful every day as it was banished to the torturous parallel dimension. The Ink Demon was an abomination that didn't ask to be born. It was only punished for its shortcomings. There's only one huge issue with that, though. This design kinda sucks. Okay, before I'm jumped for this, I just feel that the Ink Demon's presence is severely undermined by the far superior other designs in this game. It's paper versus execution, you know? While I like the idea for this character in theory, he really doesn't feel all that intimidating. Not only does the design fall flat in creating a genuinely intimidating monster design, I think his demeanor comes off as less twitchy and unhinged and more so clumsy. He looks less like a gross, unhinged monster and more like a football mascot with a sprained ankle. And many seem to agree. I think characters like Susie Campbell, Brute Boris, the Butcher Gang do a far better job at translating this quote-unquote zombified cartoon aesthetic than the Ink Demon does. Considering that these are quite literally reanimated cartoons, the zombie direction in its visuals makes a lot of sense, and the design present in Dark Revival only as further exemplifies my point. How does Bendy in the Dark Revival portray the Ink Demon then?
Stay away from the Ink Demon. Oh, you'll know him when you see him. He likes to smile, and he kills anything that moves.
In Bendy in the Dark Revival, the Ink Demon is vastly different from when we last saw him. He's far taller, though he's more hunched over. His face is much more animalistic, and he has a clearer jaw and more present horns. His feet are more goat-like in appearance, and he has very visible claws. He runs on all fours, prowls around much more meticulously, and clearly is much more put together than his appearance in Bendy and the Ink Machine. And in my opinion, far more menacing. He even talks now.
This realm is mine. You were born from it. You belong to it.
Which was a complete surprise for players and not hinted at all until the release of the game.
Tell me your sweet name.
Oh, I love him! I love him so much, he's so cool! He sounds like Smog!
Sean Christen provides an absolutely stellar performance for the Ink Demon. He sounds calm yet intimidating, and monstrous as his cackles give off this auditorial distinction like he is drowning in his own ink. There's one problem with this though. This isn't just a direct redesign like all the other characters. This is a completely new form for the Ink Demon. During the events of Dark Revival, Wilson, the game's primary antagonist, finds a way to stop the cycle from looping, leaving it in a perpetual state of decay, sealing away all these cycle breakers from allowing the end footage reel from resetting everything. While most characters are helpless to Wilson's takeover, the Ink Demon evolves.
Frequent delays due to the Ink Demon's refusal to terminate. A new method of control must be devised. Termination impossible.
While there's no name for the distinction between the two, it's very clear that this is a changed Ink Demon from the first game. And the Meatly even confirmed this himself.
The Ink Demon from #Batim won't ever be replaced by the #Batdur version, because the lore wouldn't make sense. We know that the Ink Demon became more evolved as Wilson held the cycle in place, so both versions of him are indeed canon.
Though he does feel that the Ink Demon's first appearance needs a refresh. During the events of the game, this is only further indicated as a more monstrous form of the character, as we meet Bendy, the Ink Demon's alter ego. Wilson discovered a way to neutralize the Ink Demon with his colored ink stuff, likely something he brought from the real world into the cycle, and used its energy to reduce the Ink Demon into a cartoon character we all know and love. It's almost as if the design from the first game is sort of an in-between of these two. Huh. Some of the fanbase retroactively calls the Ink Demon from the first game Ink Bendy as a result. So it's pretty clear lore-wise that you can't just adapt the Ink Demon from Bendy and the Dark Revival into a movie about Bendy and the Ink Machine. Even if the story is refreshed for new audiences, the Meatly himself agrees that the evolved Ink Demon is not a replace for Ink Bendy, which is where I come to an interesting point. A good portion of Bendy's fandom actually feels that the design from Dark Revival is inferior to the original, which while I think they're crazy and deserve to be thrown in the loony bin, I do think they actually have one really good point. The evolved Ink Demon just retains none of his cartoony characteristics that the game's monsters are known for. I described the character design philosophy earlier as zombified cartoons, mostly because the designs can lend to being mangled, with very human characteristics, even if they're supposed to resemble cartoons. And you can see this in very fleeting moments with Ink Bendy's character design, though it's clear this design results from being less experienced with 3D modeling during his inception. His concept art from Ink Machine shows a far more complex direction for the character, though I don't think simply using this design is accurate to the current direction for him, nor would it really fix all my issues with the current look. And again, Ink Bendy just isn't intimidating to me. He appears goofy and clumsy, and I think Dark Revival does attempt to rectify those issues and creates a genuinely intimidating character. So for the film needing a real refresh on the Ink Demon's design, how do we fix him? I think what I'm going to do is just show the design I created for the Ink Demon and explain my choices. While I'm far from an advanced 3D modeler, I'm very proud of the design I came up with here. Starting from the head. Something I focused on heavily with this design was changing this lopsided thing the Ink Demon has going on. I just feel it looks far too disjointed and clumsy, and there are better ways to communicate his mismatched proportions. The biggest change here is the Ink Demon's teeth. I decided to make them three-dimensional like his design in Dark Revival, as opposed to the unchanged flat texture in his Ink Machine design. I think this makes his smile a lot more contorted and gross looking. His teeth are still connected though, as to follow Bendy's connected smile. I imagine this to be as if your own teeth were completely connected down the middle, and your jaw was glued shut as a result. It looks pretty freaky in my opinion. I do think that Son Kristen should remain the voice of the character. The voice is something detailed to be more of a way to communicate the character's motives, not something that Ink Demon necessarily gains during Dark Revival's story. And judging by the Ink Demon's lack of a moving jaw when he speaks, I think he would communicate through the dark puddles, or telepathically to put it simply. He doesn't need an opening jaw to speak. For the body, I went with a very spindly, tall, thin, and kind of sickly look for him. This is for a few reasons. The Ink Demon in Dark Revival creates this very thin and fragile look that I think makes his movements and power a lot more unexpected and intimidating. Giving him this frail appearance subverts his strength and presence. Not to mention his bulging skeleton is generally a look most people would be off-put by. I gave the Ink Demon some added height to make his presence more apparent. Bendy actually has very few thin and tall characters, and I think this would be a great way to make the Ink Demon's silhouette more distinct from the rest of the cast. Not that it exactly needed it, considering his head, but the varying body types are just more visually interesting to me. Fun fact, the Meatly actually suggested a cast for the Ink Demon's body actor back in 2020, this being Doug Jones, who's not only 6'4", but also quite literally a contortionist. This clearly shows me that the Meatly finds this direction of someone contorting their body to be very appealing to the Ink Demon, and I completely agree. It'd be super creepy to see this character attempt to move super fluid like a cartoon, yet be bound by the limitations of human anatomy, which is why I paid great attention to set anatomy, spine, shoulder bones, elbows, knees, tendons, a ribcage, a pelvis, etc. Hopefully with prosthetics they can manage to make someone like Doug Jones move in a way that still communicates his cartooniness, but I imagine they could pull it off. His body is something between, well, the animated and the living, and his height is somewhat derived from Doug Jones' own proportions and stature. His clothes, or lack thereof, have a handful of other notable distinctions. The bow tie is closer to its design in Dark Revival, being more weathered to appear more realistic, and he features both his gloves and his boots from his cartoon design, though they're very damaged and warped. I felt the missing clothes strayed a little too far from his original design, as alongside with looking super disproportionate on the original model, again attributing to him looking super clumsy. I decided to just leave a more tattered set of his apparel on his right to still note the missing glove on Nick Bendy's hand. Something I really love about his left hand in particular is that I thought of pushing this idea of a cartoon forced to be human. His right hand has 5 fingers, so naturally his left also would. However, Bendy's glove only has 4, so he's forced to shove 2 fingers in one glove hole, making it look stretched and prompting some really good poses. It just looks like it's not meant to be that way, something President Ink Bendy in general. That something's just not quite right. I really tried to blend the best aspects of both designs in that regard, creating a gross yet intimidating presence while still retaining that cartoony aspect that makes the characters from Bendy unique. And that's about it. As I stated prior, I think Doug Jones doing the body acting while Sean Krisden provides the voice would be absolutely perfect casting for this character. And while I don't think Joey Drew Studios would exactly campaign for celebrity casting, I'd rather them keep the Ink Demon's voice actor above all else. He's just perfect for this character. I do get that you need a handful of big names to draw audiences in and get people talking though, so I suppose I'd rather them cast someone like Henry to be a celebrity. Not that the Meatley would exactly call himself a Hollywood actor either. I think the Bendy movie shows a lot of great potential to not only refine the story present in Ink Machine, but truly do that first entry justice on the big screen and entice new audiences to the franchise. I'm incredibly excited for the upcoming Bendy and the Ink Machine movie, and I hope at least some of what I pitched here is present in the appearance for the titular character. If you like this type of content, please subscribe. I'm trying to branch out into more stuff like this, and it'd really be appreciated if you could show your support. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see y'all next time.